welcome back. Today we are going to talk about weight loss. It's now the middle of March and lots of people who have started on their health and fitness regimes at the beginning of the year might have fallen off the wagon, or those of you who have carried on might be wondering why you're not seeing the results that you expected, which often happens, unfortunately. I have lots of people ask me all the time, I've been doing loads of exercise or I've been eating really well and I'm just not losing any weight. So today I want to talk about the reasons why that might be. So we're not that far away from summer now. It's really time to start thinking about the fact that you might have to put on a bikini or take off those layers of clothes that you've been hiding under. And the thing is the time to start thinking about it is now, even though it might be a little way away. And the most important thing, obviously it's important that you exercise, but the hard work is done in the kitchen. It's 80% at least what you put into your body affects the results that you get. So let's talk about weight loss and the reasons why you might not be losing weight. So number one is that you're eating the wrong things. Now, it's very easy to, when you start a new exercise routine, you think that you can get away with eating more, or it doesn't matter so much what you eat, but the thing is it really does matter. You need to be getting the right balance of macronutrients. So what that is you need to be getting the right amount of protein, the right amount of carbohydrates, and the right amount of fats. You want to be going for roughly a sort of 40-40-20 in terms of 40% protein, 40% carbs, 20% fats. That's about right for most people. Obviously you can get more precise with working out the things, the amounts that you should have, but there's a rough guide that will do. And in terms of eating the right things, you need to make sure that you're eating whole foods. So not quick stuff, not stuff that's been pre-made, stuff that you've made yourself, which I know is a little bit time consuming, but that's where your food prep comes into it. And it's really, really important. So you want to include lots of whole grains in your diet, beans, pulses, lean meats. It's all right to have some red meat every now and then, but not all the time, not lots of things like bacon. Obviously there's a place for fats. We know that it's talked about a lot at the moment, but they need to be the right fats. So you need to make sure that you're eating the right things and that you're drinking the right things, that you're not drinking your calories in lattes or mochas or sugary drinks, or even those vitamin waters are laden with sugar a lot of the time. Just stick to the water if you can, to fruit and herbal teas. Try to lay off those sugary coffee drinks that you get. So really take a look at what you're actually putting into your body, what it is that you're eating. And actually one of the best ways for doing this, I think, is to keep a food diary, because it's so easy to just pop something in your mouth and not think about it. If you've got children and you're doing something for them, it's just a little mouthful here for me and one for them, and I just finish off that bit that's on their plate, and you don't even realise that you've done it half of the time. So the best way to become more aware of what you're eating is to keep a food diary, and either just to write things down, or there's loads of apps you can use. One that I really like is MyFitnessPal. That does keep track of your calories and your nutrients as well, which is all great, but even just as a method for keeping track of the things that you're eating, is a really good way to do it. So the other thing, and this sort of fits in with what we're saying, is point number 2 is that maybe you're eating too much. And again, this is so easy to do. You start exercising, kickstarts your metabolism, you feel more hungry, so you eat more, which is good. You do need to fuel the exercise that you're doing, but the thing is you don't want to overeat, because in order to lose weight, ultimately you have to create a deficit of calories. So you need to be burning more calories than you're consuming. So if you start eating more because you're exercising, then obviously you're going to just sort of counteract that deficit, which is going to mean that you're perhaps not gaining any weight, but you're also not losing any either. And if that's your reasons for doing it, then you need to just be aware of how much you're eating. And again, portion control. You don't need to have a massive plate of food. More often than not, a smaller portion will do. I often am guilty of this when I'm dishing up for my husband, who is much bigger than me in terms of he's 6'3" and requires more food than I do, but it's so easy to dish us up equal portions, which is completely unnecessary, and I think that lots of people are guilty of doing that. So you can try the thing of maybe having a smaller plate. It makes you feel as though you've got more, or again, go back to that food prep thing. So do it when you're not hungry, when you're not just piling things onto your plate, when you haven't just done a workout. Do it in advance, think about it, weigh it out if necessary. I know it's a bit boring, but to begin with, that actually gets you then used to the amount that you should be eating. Okay, so point number 3 is, are you doing any resistance work? Are you doing some weights, or even just with your own body weight? Yes, it's important to do cardio. I'm a massive fan of high intensity interval training. That is the best way to see results. Also, there's nothing wrong with a bit of just straight cardio. I love going for a run every now and then. That's also really good for you and really important, but not alone. So you need to get that resistance work in. So whether that's, squats, press ups, tricep dips, anything like that, using your own body weight, that's a great place to start. But also lifting weights. So invest in some dumbbells. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Use your 1-year-old, like I did in one of my workout videos, which I'll put a link in. Use what you can, what you've got, but just make sure that you are doing some resistance work and you're really working those muscles, because the stronger your muscles become, the more calories they will require, so therefore the more you're burning. So that's where you really start to see your results, not just by pounding the treadmill day after day. Point number 4 is, are you taking enough rest days? So rest days are as important as training days. So if you're doing your high intensity interval training, you're doing your weight training, you've got a bit of cardio in there, that's all good, tick, tick, tick. But are you doing too much? Are you taking your rest days? You need to give your body an opportunity to recover, and that's when you make your gains actually, is on the days where you're not exercising. So it's really, really important. And so often you see people who sort of go at it hell for leather, and that can really impede your results, because, as I say, it's really important that you take those days off. You should be having at least a day between training the same muscle groups. Ideally, every other day for exercise is perfectly fine. Or a day of high intensity interval training, a day of resistance, a day of interval training, a day of resistance. Do it like that. Don't do the same thing day in, day out, because that's where you'll find that you're just reaching that plateau. You're not getting the results that you're working so hard to achieve. Okay, the next point is water. Are you drinking enough water? I've spoken about this before in one of my videos. Check it out if you haven't. I'll put a link. It's so important, and so many people aren't drinking enough water. And if you are not drinking enough water, you will not lose weight. It makes it very, very hard for so many reasons. Not least because you won't be getting the most out of your exercise. If you are dehydrated, you're going to struggle to get through your workouts. It's going to be so much harder. But you need to be drinking that water. Firstly, it helps you to feel full, which obviously means that you'll be eating less. And secondly, it means that your body will actually let go of the things that you don't want. So the fat, you'll burn fat basically. So I can't stress it enough. A rough guide is about 2 litres, but really there are loads of different tools you can do to work it out. But you should be going for half an ounce to an ounce for each pound that you weigh. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you want to be drinking between 75 and 150 ounces of water. I'm going to let you calculate how much that is in litres or pints or however you want to work it out. But do work it out, do drink enough. It's difficult in the beginning because you will spend lots of time on the toilet, going for a wee, but it's really, really important, and that doesn't last for that long, that whole weeing thing. The more you drink, the more you get used to it. So do it. Go and get yourself some water. Are you sleeping enough? It's really important to get enough sleep, and so many of us don't for so many different reasons. You've got young kids, or you're on your devices late at night. They say that you shouldn't have your phones and iPads and all of those things in your bedroom at night, which we are all guilty of. I definitely am guilty of. Also, it's so easy to just sit down in the evenings, and before you know it, you're watching this, you're watching that, and the time's gone. But it's really important to try and get your 8 hours in, and that does actually make a big difference to your body's ability to lose weight. And also there is a direct correlation between the hormone that's controlled by sleep and the hormone that makes you feel hungry. So, which is why often you find that if you're very tired, you start wanting bad things, or just food generally just makes you much more hungry. It's really, really important, and also it's something quite simple. And everybody loves sleeping. It's good to sleep, so do it. Get yourself to bed earlier tonight. Try and work out, what time you need to be in bed in order to get a full 8 hours in, and make sure you do. Okay, so the last reason that you might not be seeing a difference on the scales is that actually you're gaining muscle. Now this is a funny one, because you hear people often say, oh, muscle weighs more than fat, and so it's become a little bit of a joke, but it is actually true. Muscle does weigh more than fat, and if you're doing all the things correctly, so you're eating the right foods, you're eating enough, you're not eating too much, you're training correctly, you're doing resistance training, you're doing your HIIT training, you're taking your rest days, you're getting your sleep, the list goes on and on. If you're doing all those things and you're not seeing a difference on the scales, genuinely, it could be that you are probably gaining muscle at the same rate that you're losing fat. And what you might find, and what I've found myself and also with so many clients, is you're literally disappearing. Your clothes are looser, you can see a difference in your body, everything's a bit tighter, as in your body's a bit tighter, your clothes are looser, your body's tighter, but you just might not be seeing it on the scales. And that is why ultimately the best guide is measurements. It's also how you feel, it's what you see when you look in the mirror. We've all got that pair of jeans that we kept hold of to try and get into. If you can get into those, but the scales aren't showing any difference, who cares what it says on the scales? It's so kind of ingrained in us that it's all about weight, and it really isn't. It's about how you feel, it's about how you can see that you look, it's about how you fit in your clothes, and that's really the most important thing. So if you're trying all those other things that I've said and getting results in other ways that you can see, then that's what matters, that's what's important. So have a think about all those different things, see if any of them apply to you. So just to run through them again, my points for why you might not be losing weight are you eating the wrong things? Are you eating too much? Are you doing your resistance training? Are you taking your rest days? Are you drinking enough water? And are you sleeping enough? And the last thing is, it's quite possible that you're not seeing a difference on the scales because you're actually gaining muscle, which does weigh more than fat. And if that's the case, then go you. That's brilliant. Give yourself a big pat on the back. So I really hope that you found that informative and that it'll make a difference to you and your results if you've hit a bit of a plateau. Hopefully that will help. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the subscribe button so that you're informed next time I make a video. There's one coming each week, so there'll be another one next week, and I will see you then.